Yeah, there we go. So I'm glad you're all here. I'm glad to be together again. Today I want to speak for a few moments about mindfulness and gratitude. I've talked about gratitude in previous Mindfulness for the Moment sessions, and I think it's important to return to this topic as it can help frame our mindfulness practice in a certain way. The root of the word gratitude comes from the Latin gratus, meaning thankful or pleasing or even grace-filled. And gratitude is closely related to grace in the sense that grace means favor or gift. It's the recognition that much of what sustains and gives us life has been freely given to us. The 13th century mystic Meister Eckhart expressed this beautifully when he wrote, "If the only prayer you ever say in your whole life is thank you, that would suffice." We often think of gratitude as appreciating the good things in life, a beautiful day, a loving relationship, good health, or a meaningful experience. And it's wonderful to have this sense of appreciation. But gratitude can also be cultivated during the not so good times in life, even the difficult and painful times. And mindfulness invites us into a deeper understanding of gratitude that goes beyond just appreciating only the good things. In mindfulness practice, we cultivate a non-judgmental awareness of whatever arises in the present moment. We do not need to be grateful only for the pleasant experiences and then reject the unpleasant ones. Mindfulness helps us to learn to meet life as it is, and through a non-dual kind of lens that shows us how easily we are dominated by a kind of over-investment in what we like and an over-divestment from what we do not. With non-judgmental awareness, we might begin to see that life is not simply about liking and disliking. In this way, we can truly be thankful for this one and only life without getting pulled into the simple kind of grasping and rejecting that all of us tend to do at times. This does not mean we become completely passive in the face of our suffering or illness or loss or injustice. But rather, mindfulness teaches us to be present to that so that we might see more clearly and act from a place of wisdom to address those ills and injustices in our life. The poet and philosopher David Whyte writes, "Gratitude is not a passive response to something we have been given. Gratitude arises from paying attention, from being awake in the presence of everything that lives within and without and beside us." And when we cultivate gratitude, we begin to see this kind of interconnectedness of all things, if we can be grateful for all things. Thich Nhat Hanh was a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, peace activist, prolific author, poet, and teacher who founded the Plum Village tradition in Buddhism. Nhat Hanh repeatedly expressed this principle that we are all connected. In his teaching about this connection, he used the term interbeing. He wrote, "To be is to interbe." You cannot just be yourself alone. You have to interbe with every other thing, he said. When we begin to see that our lives are supported by countless people and conditions and relationships, gratitude might more naturally arise. We can realize that none of us came into this life by our own doing. Life was given. Every bite of food, every opportunity to wake each morning, and every breath we breathe depends upon a vast network of the visible and invisible connections that we all share. In his book, A Year to Live, as I've mentioned before, Stephen Levine invites readers to reflect on our mortality, not as a morbid exercise, but as a way to awaken our appreciation for this life. Levine suggests that one of the great tragedies is not that life ends, but that we often fail to appreciate it while we have it. When we remember that our time is limited, ordinary moments become extraordinary. Contemplating impermanence helps us stop taking life for granted. Being present in our lives just as they are, moment by moment, can help remind us of our connection to all things, and a gratitude begins to emerge naturally. Mindfulness and gratitude are therefore deeply connected. Modern research supports our understanding of this connection. One of the foundational studies on gratitude found that people who intentionally cultivated gratitude experienced greater optimism, improved well-being, and increased positive emotion compared to other control groups. A review of gratitude research found associations with improved psychological health, stronger relationships, better sleep, and greater resilience during stressful periods. More recently, researchers have suggested that gratitude functions as a psychological resource that supports emotional regulation and overall well-being. The research on mindfulness, as you probably know, points in a similar direction. Studies have found that mindfulness is associated with greater well-being, increased appreciation of positive experiences, and a greater capacity to savor life just as it is, as it unfolds. The mindfulness practice we share today and will practice together has been preserved and handed down by generations of teachers and practitioners. Even this moment of sitting here together results from the alignment of countless conditions and connections. So perhaps we might practice with a spirit of gratitude for all we have been given and all that connects us. So I'd like to begin our practice today with a brief guided gratitude meditation, and then we'll spend some time just sitting with open awareness. This gratitude meditation, I've done it before here, is by Fred Rogers, yes, of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You probably know this about him, but throughout his life, whether speaking at commencement ceremonies, award shows, or even in his staff meetings, Rogers regularly invited people to engage in a gratitude practice, a very simple, short one. And for him, this was a way to honor the invisible web of care that supports every human life, and to remind us that our worth comes not from achievement, but from being loved. So I invite you now to settle in. Maybe you have a sense of your seated or standing or lying down posture. And take a couple intentional breaths so that there be a settling. And just for a couple of moments in this brief guided gratitude meditation inspired by Rogers, we'll begin by just pausing to remember someone who, in his words, has loved you into being. Consider someone whose care helped shape who you are. This could be somebody who's in your life now or from your past. Do your best just to bring to mind one person, a family member, a friend, a teacher, mentor, neighbor, or anyone who cared about you in some kind of meaningful way. And there's no need to find that just one right, absolute, perfect person. Just choose someone who comes to mind, just for this practice. Someone whose presence supported you in your life. Let this image emerge in your mind's eye of someone who showed you love in a real way. Picturing them now, their face, their posture, their tone of voice. And if no real clear image comes to mind, just have a general sense of their presence so that you might hold this person in your awareness for the next few moments. And as you hold this person in your awareness, notice what arises along with that. Maybe a sense of gratitude, or warmth, tenderness. You might even notice a kind of complexity of various aspects of this person. And take a moment to reflect on their impact on you. In Roger's words, consider how they have smiled you into smiling, talked you into talking, or loved you into loving. Let this awareness, this image, this reflection, let it touch you, touch your heart. Feel for a moment what it was like, and maybe is still like, to be loved by them. What it was like to be seen by them. What it was like that you mattered to them. Taking a few breaths, allowing gratitude to arise naturally. Allow yourself to feel some thankfulness for their love and support. You don't have to force that, just let it emerge. And now imagine this person knowing right now what their love has meant to you. Even if this person is no longer in your life, just seeing them now. And seeing them receiving your gratitude for them. Imagine how they would feel knowing that their kindness lives on in you. And other times you can invite other faces, voices, memories, allowing them to join in on this circle of care for you. And as we bring this gratitude meditation to a close, just taking another 2 or 3 breaths, nice and slow and easy. And remembering that you were loved into being. and that your life continues to carry forward the care and the kindness and the compassion that you received. Carry that sense of care into the rest of your days, knowing that someone has loved you into being. And now gently releasing this image or felt sense from your mind's eye as we move into a simple awareness practice, allowing the attention to come to rest on the breath, noticing the sensations of air flowing in and out, or the rising and falling of the belly or the chest. And let this breathing, breath by breath, be your anchor for present moment awareness, a kind of home base to return your attention each time you notice the mind wandering off. And remembering that the instruction is not to suppress the mind wandering, but to notice and perhaps even name it as thinking, planning, worrying, regretting, remembering, and then come back to the breath. Each and every time you notice the mind wandering, guide the attention back to the breath and the body, and doing so with an attitude of kindness, compassion, friendliness toward yourself and your mind. What we broadly mean is non-judgmental awareness. Every time you notice that the mind is off somewhere into the past or future, caught up in a storyline, projecting, worrying, whatever it is, each time you notice it and you come back to the present moment, you're returning to the heart of the matter, to be present, not freeze that, but noticing when the mind moves around and gently bringing it back to this moment. because after all, this moment is the only moment we have to be alive.